Today, quick as possible, I'm going to tell you how to turn off and not uninstall Microsoft Edge, the web browser. I'm going to go into legalities and finding of facts and all that later, but let's get to it. The file names or the names of the actions that they're titled as will be listed now. Microsoft Edge Update On Demand, Microsoft Edge Update Broker, Microsoft Edge Update, Windows Update, which is a generic updater, which we will talk about as well, Microsoft Edge Update Service Edge Update, and Microsoft Edge Update Service Edge Update M, and hundreds of other variations of those. The main one, Windows Update, you shouldn't mess with unless you really want to disable all updates. I did that on mine. I'm a computer geek. I did it because I will manually update the computer, and it's dangerous. But then again, I run Windows 7 with a bunch of hacks on it to get it to work correctly on hardware that's newer, so I can take advantage of the speed performance. I don't care that I'm not able to update an operating system that's already been end-of-lifed. You shouldn't do that. So we'll only talk about just the updates for Microsoft Edge, but I want you to understand that this is a tutorial on how to get into each of the components, or just use one big one, in order to do this. The list is going to be below, and there's variation of it. But basically, Edge, Update, and whatever wording. And you'll have to look up newer versions because as soon as Microsoft Corporation figures out we're turning this off, they're going to change the file names. Run services.msc. services.msc. Services. Yes, there's some other thing you could run that would put in all of the other things you've been mentioning in one page. That's not relevant. We're turning off the services. But first, we close Microsoft Edge. That means you have to open this video in some other browser, preferably something that isn't as stupid or invasive, preferably portable. When you run services.msc, you then go to the bottom of the tab or page and click Standard View. Now, I have my computer normally set up to default to that. What does it do? It removes a stupid, useless helper page on the left that takes up space and does no good. Taking administrator tools like Service Manager, like this, and turning it into something that grandma will sit and read and then go break the computer anyway. Lawyers should not write software, and advertisers and salespeople should not write software. That's the end of that part of the rant for right now anyway. After that, you look for each of the components I mentioned and double-click each one and hit Startup Type to Disabled, and then click the Stop button to try to stop it. You want to disable all of them in a group, all of them that say Edge, Update, Microsoft Edge, whatever, and maybe even the executable name. Look for them that way. You're going to have to manually look. You might be able to search in these apps, not all of them. But you find each one, and you, in this case, in Service Manager, double-click each one, disable it, and then go through again, double-click each one, and hit Stop. In that order. Next, Task Manager. Now, it should have stopped when you hit Stop the Service. That's nice. We're going to go into Task Manager anyway. Yes, there's a dozen ways of doing it, but you type in taskmgr.exe when you click Run. If you use the search thing, it might let you run it, but it might get in the way. Again, this is Microsoft Corporation. They're going to be fighting back a little, or a lot. Abusive as hell. Click Processes. This is the same thing as doing what we did before, but this is directly looking at RAM to see if it just restarted it when you disabled its ability to be a service and then turned it off. This is where we're going to find out whether it's fighting. Make note. Click Processes. Look for any of those files, right-click, and end them. Now, at this point, you should just end process. If you end process tree, it may do other things. I would hit end process tree, but that's only because I don't care if I have the computer lock up and crash. I'm angry at the moment. I don't care. I never go into Task Manager unless I'm going to end the fucking tree. I don't care if I lose data. I don't care if I have to reinstall. I will not let a routine run disobediently. You should just end process. And again, make note of the ones that fought back. Keep a list. Write it down on a sheet of paper so it can't defrag it. Next. And that's Edge Update, Service, Broker, Data on Demand, whatever the routines are. Now we're going to go into the firewall. Again, Microsoft Corporation being an advanced corporation that can totally make everything easy, screaming cast iron bitch. You're going to go into the firewall program under the allowed programs area. Now, normally you run Microsoft Windows Firewall or whatever it's called, Defender Firewall, and in the upper left-hand corner it says allow or disallow programs. But we're not going to use that. We're going to use control. We're going to type run control space / name space Microsoft.Windows Firewall space / page space page configure apps. The link will be below in the description. You can just cut and paste it. Look for and disable and then delete any of the following listings in it. Now, this is under firewall programs that are allowed. You can also disallow them, too. If there's an entry for it, usually there is, you can just right-click it and edit it and say disallow. Microsoft Edge Updater.exe, Microsoft Edge Update Broker.exe, Microsoft Edge Update On Demand.exe, and who knows how many else will be created. One of them is an on-demand one of them is a manager for it, and the other one is just a general updater. And you're turning them off if they ever come back, disabling them in the firewall. Why do we have to do that? We're just turning them off, aren't we? Yeah. And you believe this aggressive piece of shit is going to just sit there and let you kick it in the balls. I'd like anybody to look up an old video of someone screaming at the top of his lungs, trying to just uninstall Internet Explorer for Windows 8 when it was optional. Okay? I'm trying to prevent trauma, not amplify it. And that's why I'm giving you a direct link you can cut and paste in to go to the control panel. And this currently works. I don't know if it'll always work. But go to the control panel for firewall to do these things. Because you have to then, don't erase the entries if you don't want to. You can just say, these programs are perpetually barred from accessing the internet so that they can't update anything. But aren't we going to delete them? It doesn't matter if you delete a program if you don't exclude it by setting a set of rules when, not if, it reinfects your machine, it will access again. It may be easier to change these. Yes, after you uninstall, if you choose to uninstall all of this shit, you have to go back and check all these again to make sure it really didn't change them. Yes, on exit from your computer, if you can get it to uninstall this shit program, it will go through and leave a bunch of breadcrumbs, backup copies, and eventually go through and turn off your rules you're setting so that it can go ahead and get in again. That's not aggressive. Next, run task scheduler. Now, this is one of those that's really a pain in the ass, so I'm going to give you an alternative to task scheduler. And yes, it's a program that can access everything we just discussed and more. It doesn't matter, you have to use Task Scheduler. taskschd.msc is Task Scheduler, and it's a MSC file. It doesn't matter, just run it. You have to run that. You click Active Tasks, which should be in the middle window. Scroll up and down and look for it, and yes, it'll try to hide it. And look for and disable, and then maybe delete any of the following if you can see them. Microsoft Edge Update Task Machine Core. Microsoft Edge Update Task Machine UA. Microsoft Update Task User Anything. Microsoft, you get the pattern. Also, Microsoft Edge Update Broker and Microsoft Edge Update On Demand EXE. Now, these may or may not be in all of these locations or none of them. You have to go through them. Now, Microsoft Windows Task Scheduler provides no way to search if you have a very long list. This is by design. This pisses off administrators continually. So much so that a company came out with a program to completely replace most of these or all of these at the same time. It's a free program, and Microsoft Corporation bought them out. So, of course, it's disabling things. The current version, if you download it, doesn't even fucking work. So, you have to go to archive.org/web/download.sysinternals.com/file/autorun. Sysinternals Autorun, the older version, worked as of this year, July. The current version, coincidentally, because everybody's trying to get rid of this program, and this is one of them that lets you search for every goddamn iteration in the task scheduler, this program has been crapped out. It comes up with a bullshit error and they're not fixing it. And every time you post a comment or a question on Microsoft's help forums, this thread's been locked. Here's your answer. You locked it right after you answered it, so we can't get the answer. The answer is you run auto runs from sysinternals. They bought them out. But because so many of us kept backup copies, they knew there was a threat that if they ever removed this program from the internet, we would shove it up their ass and put it there. So you can go ahead and run it. What you do is you download it from the zip file. I recommend the July 2021 version. You double-click the file and unzip it. You have to extract it. After downloading it, you have to right-click it and extract it to a folder. You double-click autoruns.exe. Ignore the others. And then if that doesn't work, autoruns 64. It should work because it'll run whichever one's appropriate. Then you click Scheduled Tasks tab, and that'll only show you the scheduled tasks. And then you can find by hitting Control F or whatever to search manually for your tasks. Once you find it, you right-click and click Jump to Entry. And this then opens Task Scheduler, the regular version of it, whichever version you're running on your computer, it'll find it. And you can see the hierarchy in the first column of where it's stored. Look for it, disable it, and then delete it. And again, it's Microsoft Edge Update Anything, and Microsoft, well, that's it. And you'll find many iterations. Now, finally, this is the final act, the coup de grace, to beat it over the head. This is all done before you reboot. You haven't run the uninstaller. It doesn't know you're uninstalling it. You're just slowly ripping away all of its abilities to run on the next run and turning it off in RAM. Turning it off in RAM first by running, what is it again? I'm sorry, I'm lost again. By running Task Manager is a good idea, but it'll auto-run because it can find itself in the task scheduler to run every 5 seconds to force itself. So do this in whatever order will work. And you'll have to do it again. And you can't erase anything or uninstall anything yet. Now, after you've done auto runs and everything else, you can go to File Explorer and go to Windows System Apps and or your username, which is C:users/ %username/ app data local and various other locations, but those are the two main ones. And look for a package called Microsoft Edge _ any set of random characters, and you'll be able to, once you've done all of these things, you should be able to change it by adding _dead onto that long string of characters. That isn't uninstalling it. That's literally making to where if it isn't in RAM, you shouldn't get an error message. Whether it gives you an error message or not, restart your computer. If you try to launch Microsoft Edge, nothing will happen because it links to that area that you've renamed. It shouldn't be able to run on startup at all. It should be dead. After this, you can try running an uninstaller for Microsoft Edge. If you dare. When I had to deal with this happening with Internet Explorer a long time ago, we had to create fake entries for every single one of these files by making them zero-length text files and making them read-only and archived and hidden, so that every time the operating system belligerently would try to go around us and reinstall various versions of Internet Explorer or whatever program, including viruses, it ran into the file's already here, and I've disabled all your updates, and you can't do it. Every fucking program that was put out, Microsoft Corporation would pay people good money to install Internet Explorer against people's will by forcing it into the system. Just like Windows 8 came out as a free upgrade you couldn't turn off and it kept taking up space. Every single time they do this, it's never done with the presumption that it's helping the user. It's always done against our will, and it's always done as a monopolistic behavior by design. These instructions are, by definition, as soon as they're made, they're going to be invalid. The first link will be how to uninstall Microsoft Edge their way, or whatever it's called. You can do that only after you've turned off its ability to do anything behind your back and removed all its updaters from being run. That doesn't mean you've erased anything yet. This is just so you're allowed to uninstall it without it being able to say, oh, I'm already running. Every fucking excuse, every fucking time. I wish you a great deal of luck. I got paid good money to do this on Windows machines for over a decade. Good luck. You'll need it.